Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens, and this is Carly Stevens Books for all things writing, publishing, and indie author life. And I am really excited to get to talk to Brandi Jacobs today about partnering with bookstores. So first of all, thank you for making time to talk to me today, Brandi.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a problem at all.
So we've gotten to know each other a little bit through my local Barnes and Noble, which is the busiest one in Colorado. It really is just a great spot for readers, and it's been great for me as an author as well. So, can you tell us a little bit about your background as a bookseller, what role you have there, and then we'll talk about how even indie authors can partner with bookstores more effectively.
So I've actually worked for Barnes& Noble twice. I originally worked for the company in 2019 as just a basic bookseller. I actually did a lot of cashier work at that time. That was back when I lived in New York. And then recently started again back in, it was 2021. Again, started as just a basic bookseller. At that time, I was doing a lot more floor work, a lot more customer service experience. It's more the last probably year and a half or so that I've started doing event coordination and actually hosting author events. I also still do a lot of the front of house stuff, but my main focus point at this time is doing the actual setting up events, coordinating things with authors, and even we're trying to get more into in-store events as well, which is another process in and of itself.
So when you say author events, just for the sake of clarification, is that only book signings, like you would see a table with somebody behind it, or does it encompass any more than that?
So it really depends on the store you're working with, because some stores actually offer an event space, which is like a portioned off section of the store which has like a stage, chairs, tables, rooms to actually host events. Our location doesn't have an event space, so we tend to focus on more author signing based events. We've tried to do other types of events in the past, and it just gets really chaotic because we don't really have the space to host meet and greets, Q&As. We've tried a bunch of different stuff, and it just doesn't work as well in our store.
I went to a Q&A meet and greet at the store with Paul Holes, and from my perspective, the experience side, I thought it went pretty well. But you're right, there was no
Mm.
enclosed separate space for it still.
Yeah, those type of events are just rough because we don't have that closed off space. So to get the right atmosphere or to
Mhm.
make sure you can actually hear whoever's talking, we have to turn music off to the entire store.
Mm.
And depending on where we host that event, it can be very clustered and crowded. I know with the Paul Holes one, we had people like overflowing in between aisles, like peeking over displays to listen.
He's an
Yeah.
interesting person. So for indie authors like
Mhm.
me and other people who are watching, what is the process for uh, getting their books into a Barnes and Noble, for a signing or on the shelves? Just logistically, what are the steps of that?
Definitely reaching out to your local events coordinator. For some stores, that's just the store manager or assistant manager. Some stores, like ours, actually has a designated individual. Normally, if you just speak to any bookseller or anyone on the floor, there should be business cards with that email that we can access for the events coordinator. Um, Beyond that, a lot of it's actually on our end because there is certain criteria we have to meet or a book has to meet for us to actually be able to set up an event.
Hmm.
When I tend to set up events, the first thing I check is, do we carry the book in our store? If we carry the book, is it marked as returnable or non-returnable? Because they tend to not send us non-returnable titles. And if we request them, it becomes a whole process because if we get them and we don't sell them, or if an event gets canceled, we can't do anything with these titles. Um, and then from there, it's a lot of demographic based. When at least when I set up events, a lot of it is this author a good fit for our store?
Mm.
Um, do we have the specific grouping of people that are going to come in and show up for this event? My big thing is I don't want to have an author come in knowing that they're not going to do well because that's just going to discourage them from trying other events, or they'll be frustrated with the event in and of itself, which can be discouraging. And I don't want to do that. So,
Okay, so from a practical standpoint, it's contact the event coordinator or the person who
mhm.
does that as well. And then it sounds like books that are exclusive to Amazon are pretty much off the table. You would have to have a an Ingram Spark print on demand service or something equivalent instead in order to be considered. Or is it possible for people who just have like paperbacks on Amazon to do a store event like this?
It is possible. It's not as common because a lot of stores, when we changed owners in 2019, moved away from the consignment aspect of author signings. So I know our store, we tend to only do consignment-based signings if it's someone we've either worked with before or have a pre-existing relationship with, because it's a whole process. There's contracts involved. We want to make sure that we don't end up paying someone for books that we didn't actually sell. It's it's just a lot. Consignment based signings are.
So the
So a lot.
assumption, the safe assumption would be no consignment, no bringing in your own stuff. Um,
y- Yeah, it's most common that we tend to provide our own books. You'll find some stores that offer consignment, but I've only encountered a couple that actively do consignment signings unless specifically requested.
okay, well that's helpful to know. So what are some of the benefits? It sounds like there are some logistical hurdles, but what are the benefits of partnering with Barnes& and Noble and other similar bookstores when you're an indie writer?
Um, I think the biggest one is going to a larger named bookstore, be it Barnes& and Noble, Books A Million, I'd say Borders, but I'm not sure they really exist at this point. Is they're gonna have consistent foot traffic, they're gonna have consistent business, and a lot of those stores have regularly viewed social media
Hmm.
as well as regular promoted social media. Um, so even if an author is not super well known or they're a newly starting indie author, they're going to get a lot more promotion and traffic than they might get at a smaller bookstore like Poor Richard's downtown where we live. I don't know if they're super active on social media. I know they do a lot of in-store promotion, but I never really see anything online for any events that they're hosting. So I think even though it's a bit more frustrating to get events with larger stores, and I know some Barnes and Nobles even do like video interviews for authors.
That's
Yeah,
interesting. I've never heard of that, and I've contacted quite a few in the
I didn't
state. Huh.
I didn't know about it until I think there's an author from like Michigan or Illinois visiting in a couple months, and she was like, "Yeah, my local Barnes and Noble had me submit like a 3-minute video talking about my book and what I want to get out of the signing and for
Oh
them to
my
review."
gosh.
And I was like, "I could not imagine doing that. I'm gonna be honest. I just look at the book and go, yeah, this looks like a book that'll do great here. Awesome."
So, that kind of segues nicely to the next question I was going to ask, which is about some common mistakes that you see with people who either, come to a signing not prepared, or they just, they don't sell as well as they could because they do XYZ, or you look at the book and you just say, I don't think this is going to be a good fit just basically, what are some of the common mistakes that you encounter that are avoidable?
I think some of the big ones that I've noticed is I've experienced where there's some authors who insist on a signing even after I've said, "Hey, due to our particular sales group, I don't think this event will do well," and they insist on doing a signing anyways, and then we don't end up selling as many of their books as they want, and they normally end up leaving feeling frustrated and upset because they think they should have done better, but unfortunately, our grouping doesn't quite allow for that type of sales.
Hmm.
I also think, especially starting authors, like newer indie authors, they get very nervous and like
Mm,
anxious during their first events so that they don't want to walk up and talk to people and be
mm,
like, "Hey, have you tried reading my book?" Or, "Hey, I wrote this awesome book. Here's the description." I think not putting yourself out there is more of a detriment
mm,
than, um, well, in the two examples, sometimes not putting yourself out there is much more detrimental than putting yourself out there and not getting the results you want. Because I've seen a lot of authors who will just, because at our store we provide a table, a chair, and then any other basic implements you might need, book stands, writing utensils. Some folks will just sit there behind the table. They don't interact with customers. They don't reach out and try to engage. And a lot of people will just pass the table by.
mm.
I personally, at least recently, I've been trying to encourage folks, hey, when you come, try to bring some props or even just basic decorations, something that's going to catch the customer's eye and draw them to the table, especially if you don't have a pre-existing following. Pre-existing following, gosh. Um, and also like I know it's super popular with newer authors, but like little stickers, little like cards that can double as a bookmark. Those also go over great with customers and tend to draw people in
Mm.
because they're like, "Oh, not only am I getting a book, but I'm getting these little goodies that go with the book and I can stick them on my hydro flask, use it as a bookmark, whatever." So I
Yeah.
think Mhm. Oh,
Oh,
no.
go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I was just rambling.
No, no, I was enjoying the rambling. I think you made some really good points because I know that I've walked by tables where authors are doing signings, and if they're just, on their phone, back, eyes down, not really engaging, then I I I feel almost like I would be interrupting to go and even check the book out. It's this deterrent.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's really helpful advice. So you already kind of touched on it, but are there any standouts for you in terms of like, okay, so baseline, be friendly, bring some like maybe some little freebie or something. But is there any other advice that you would give in order to really stand out, really be successful, really give yourself the best odds at an event like this?
Um, I think self promotion is also a super important aspect of how to make yourself successful because, yes, the venue that you're at is going to promote for you. But sometimes the people that you interact with every day, the people that you meet online who are interested in your content, aren't necessarily going to be actively following whatever venue you plan on hosting an event at. So even just making a post going, "Hey guys, I'm going to be at this store on this day," uh, it's gonna draw more people in. It's gonna get you a better result. And just engaging with as many people as you can passing by. Even if they don't end up buying the book's now there in their head. It's gonna live there. Maybe they'll buy it online later. Maybe they'll be talking to a friend and be like, "Hey, I saw this author at my local bookstore the other day." And their friend will be like, "Wow, that book actually sounds super good." Definitely putting yourself out there as much as possible, even if it's outside your comfort zone, because you want to try to promote as much as possible because that's going to give you the best growth.
Mm. Well, that is some solid advice. I know that I have really enjoyed doing events. particularly at your Barnes and Noble. I've done some others, but it's been very effective for me. I know that live events are not everybody's cup of tea, but I feel like everybody can at least try it, stretch themselves a little bit if they have a good story, a good product. It can be really fun to talk to other readers because that's what we all are, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, anything else you want to leave people with before we say goodbye?
Um, I don't know. I think my biggest take on the whole thing is put yourself out there and understand that if someone's saying no to you, it's probably because they want to see you succeed and they don't think that their venue or their demographic is quite what you need at that point in time. Because I definitely know there's a couple authors where I'm personally interested in their book. I would love to buy their book, and I've actually asked them if there's some place I can purchase their book, but I know my store doesn't have the same like psychology interests or like
Mm,
teaching interests that I might have. So I tell them no because I want them to have a successful event and I can't offer that. But it's not me saying that they won't do well because I think there is a demographic out there. Unfortunately, our venue just doesn't have it.
mm. So trust the booksellers. They know what they're talking about. They're there
We
for a
kn-
reason.
we know what we sell on a daily basis, and even if we like the content, that doesn't mean everyone else around is going to be like, "Heck yeah, I love reading about OCD."
That's I didn't really even uh really think about that, but that's absolutely true. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me. So yeah, stretch yourself, reach out to your local bookstore and see if this would be a good fit for you and your book. You have all kinds of good advice from Brandy here, who has a lot of experience doing that. All right, like this video if you like it, don't forget to subscribe for more writing, publishing, and indie author life videos, as well as interviews like this. All right, until next time, bye.